What's an opinion you have that might piss some people off? Having
So here was the few questions this beautiful sister was asking, and here was this teaching a lot of people was teaching the video. Let's dive into it. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. How are you doing? I hope you are doing great.
What's an opinion you have that might piss some people off? Having a flirty personality isn't a real thing. Anyone who's a self-proclaimed flirty person just wants to be able to flirt with everything with a pulse with no consequences. Whether they're dating someone, whether they're in a talking stage, whatever, they just want to be like, I can't help it, I just have a flirty personality. No, you don't. You just like flirting with people. You can be talkative and kind and not claim yourself as a flirty person. So if you're going like out of your way to be like, I just have a flirty personality, you know what you're doing.
Women are literally hardwired for pleasure. We have something in our anatomy whose sole purpose is pleasure. If you're confused, it's the clitoris. Men have a multi-tool at best. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. All the shame and control that we have over women's sexuality and anatomy, it literally is an act against nature and God. Because if we were made in God's image, then women were made for pleasure. Not men's pleasure, but our own.
People who don't believe in masks are a sign that we're devolving as a species. I don't love masks. I'm not some mask nerd. I don't tell people to put their masks on when they're not wearing them. I don't give a shit. But to say that you don't believe in them is pretty baffling, because the mask, the premise of a mask, the concept of it, all it is, you put a thing, a tangible thing that you can touch and hold, you put that over something and it blocks some of something going past in either direction. That's the same concept we use to build houses. That's what shelter is. That's what a roof is. If you drive past an abattoir, you roll your window up because it smells bad. Solid things block out things. That's all the concept is. Do you sleep with your tent open? Like, things block things. We figured that out before we figured out fire. Humans were sleeping in caves because we were like, fuck the weather over there. Oh, this solid thing blocks some of that out. If you're going back before Neanderthal times,
that you got to go to Thanksgiving this year, that you got to go home and be in a house with people who just gossip and want something from you and just want to be there to start an argument. You ain't got to stay there with those people. You ain't got to go. You ain't got to pay your money to get on a flight to go be miserable. Listen, it's your Thanksgiving, it's your holiday. And let me tell you something that y'all already know. Just because they blood don't mean they the family you got to spend time with. So I just want to let you know, during this holiday season, keep yourself in a good headspace, because good space and good time means a better you going into the new year. I'm going to give you that. I'm going to let you sit with it, and hopefully you choose what's best for you. You ain't gotta be around them people if you don't want.
Childhood should just be really fun. No shaming kids for sleeping in. No shaming kids for taking a rest or not being busy all the time. It doesn't necessarily mean spoiling them or giving them everything they want, but childhood should just be fun. Adulthood is so relentless and difficult with so many responsibilities, and childhood is the only opportunity you have in life to just relax. So I want my kids to do that while they can. So yes, their childhood, just fun.
Okay. A good portion of the LGBTQIA is very, very toxic. So toxic, not only to other people outside of the community, but to people in their own community as well. So you can throw the whole saying loving and accepting all out the window, because it's not true. Gen Z and the following generations are probably going to fail society as a whole, and you can't put the blame on older generations. It's also your own mentality and your own choices that you make. It's weird because I notice Gen Z and following generations are not only sensitive, but insensitive at the very same time. Weird. Y'all expect so much from other people, like to treat you the best that they can, and then you want to do the bare minimum. Also, if you're 18 or younger and still live in your parents' house and you're still in high school, stop acting as if you know everything. You don't know what life is really like. People need to stop seeking validation and acceptance out of other people online, because guess what? That safety bubble that they create is just going to get popped right away. Social media and media in general is toxic, and it forever will be, so don't depend on.
I'm not interested in forcing anybody to accept gay people. First of all, as long as you aren't interfering with my life physically or legally, I really don't care what you believe. I'm an adult and I can validate myself. I don't require other people's validation to move forward in my life. Secondly, I don't understand why we think that it's productive to shame someone and call them a homophobe and get them outcast from society for not accepting gay people. Do you really think that is going to change their mind? Like, do people really think they're gonna be like, man, I'm glad that guy got me fired from my job so I could self-reflect? That's only going to give them the impression that gay people are vicious and vindictive. I choose tolerance, which means tolerating people who disagree with me and maybe even disagree with who I am, as long as they do so peacefully and don't interfere legally or physically in my life.
If you are like consistently late and make it a part of your personality, like, oh, you should know that I'm always late, you're rude, you're selfish, and all you're doing is telling everyone else that you don't give a shit about their time. And the only person that matters is you. Grow up.
Daniel Sloss was right in that 80% of relationships that we see today are bullshit. And honestly, in my opinion, it's really like 90% of them that's bullshit to me. I believe that most couples aren't together for the right reasons, such as chemistry, compatibility, and being able to accept themselves and their partner. Instead, I feel that most people are with somebody for other reasons. They haven't learned to love, understand, and accept themselves, and they expect for their partner to do that for them instead. Or they're with somebody because they fall into societal pressures and beliefs that to be alone is a problem. Or they're still with somebody because they've put in way too much of their own time, energy, and effort for them to just give up. I truly believe that most people in relationships really aren't happy. And if society focused more on praising being single instead of shaming it, a lot of couples would cease to exist. I feel that true happiness and compatibility in a relationship takes time and personal development to find. And most people don't do the personal work or have the patience to wait. So they find someone and do their best to emulate that compatibility and happiness. And they'll look great on the outside, but deep down they know.
Polyester is a complete ripoff. Stop paying top dollar for clothing made out of polyester. It's a synthetic fabric that doesn't allow your skin to breathe, and it is one of the most inexpensive fabrics in the world right now, which is why it's so vastly used in fast fashion. As a prime example is the Effortless pant by Aritzia. It is not an inexpensive pant. It's $150, and I see a lot of girls refer to it as an investment piece, and it's 100% polyester. As a better option is this pant from COS. It's $135, 100% wool, which is a breathable fabric. So I'm not saying not to buy anything made out of polyester. I'm just saying don't spend top dollar on it. Choose quality fabrics that will be...
Students at top-ranked colleges get way too much attention. When they graduate, our society acts like they worked way harder or accomplished so much more than their peers at lesser-known schools. I'm not saying Harvard students aren't impressive, because by and large, they are very impressive. But the name of your college says more about your accomplishments in high school than anything else, because that's what got you in. I mean, really, Harvard students have some of the best professors on the planet, a $50 billion endowment, a 3.6 average graduating GPA, and just about any academic or extracurricular resource you could possibly ask for. Are you really going to tell me that they're outworking everyone else to the point that having Harvard on their degree makes them more deserving of a job or grad program? I have a friend at a little-known liberal arts college that helps a Harvard student with Mandarin homework. My girlfriend's small Christian school STEM professors regularly hand out C- average grades. You see what I mean? If you're applying or in college right now, don't let anyone tell...
Just because you're in a relationship, it doesn't mean that you can't check out other people. Not in a way that's like, oh, I actively would like to fuck this person, or I actively think that this is the next person that I could go for if my current relationship fails. That's not what I mean. I mean it more in the sense of just because you're currently in a relationship with someone, it doesn't mean that you have to lose your ability to be able to acknowledge that somebody else that's not your partner is an attractive individual. Like if a person's hot, they're hot. Just because you're in a relationship, it doesn't mean that you're suddenly fucking blind. You can look at the menu, you just can't order anything. And like I've heard the whole argument of, oh, you shouldn't even be looking at the menu in the first place, but like, okay, well, bitch, the menu is right there in front of my face. Like, what do you want me to do? Like most of the time, we can't even control where our own eyes are looking. What more our partners? And like, at least to me, it doesn't matter if they look at the menu, it's more so what they do.
Women who will not date bisexual men cannot give you a valid reason that is not homophobic or biphobic because there is not one that exists. The comments are open if you believe one does.
All right, I am ready. About 99% of all of y'all about to be really mad, and I ain't even playing around. All right, get this. I was homeschooled, right? I have never been to a public school. No grade school, no middle school, no high school, and definitely no college. So a little after I turned 18, I graduated homeschool high. My mom just went on the computer and printed off a little diploma for me saying I graduated from homeschool high. Now this is the part that's gonna piss all of y'all off. That homeschool diploma took me just as far as a high school diploma, and I never had to prove anything. That's the thing about the school systems, is they don't care. It's just glorified babysitting. Y'all could have stayed home your whole life and never had to go to public school, and your moms could have just print you off a fucking graduation certificate, and you'd be just...
Permanent contract is not a permanent contract. There's no such thing as permanent. If the company went tits up tomorrow, you'd probably be the first person they let go. Instead, focus on taking on more responsibility, exploring opportunities to learn and upskill and get better at your craft, and keep up to date with the latest trends in your field.
Hijabis don't get a free pass to take their hijabs off on their wedding day. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about the hijabis that are having separate weddings. I'm talking about the hijabis that take off their hijabs at mixed weddings where non-muhrams are present. If you are a hijabi that has done this or plans to do this, more power to you, whatever, it's none of my business. But at the same time, I have seen so many videos on TikTok where a girl, like a hijabi girl, posts her wedding where she's not wearing her hijab and she's a full-time hijabi. And then everybody in the comments is like, oh, it's her wedding day, she gets a free pass. It's her wedding day, it's her wedding day. Sorry, sis, but you don't get a free pass. You can say that your family's okay with it or whatever, but don't misinform.
It's gonna piss off a lot of Latinos, but here we go. Latinos, we got a lot of anti-black racism in our community, and we usually let it slide because it's our family saying this racist shit. And I'm gonna need y'all to start calling out your family members, because all you Latinos seem to forget that we Latinos also have black ancestors. We also have ancestors who were slaves in Latin America, who came from Africa. Just because you are not an Afro-Latino does not mean you do not have African ancestry. Black people are our family. We gotta stop the racist bullshit and start working.
You don't have a right to free healthcare because you don't have a right to the labor that it takes to provide the healthcare itself, and you don't have a right to the labor that it takes to pay the taxes that will pay for that healthcare. You only have a right to things that are inherent to you, that can't be taken away, like your right to free speech, your right to freedom of religion. You don't have a right to require other people to work, to pay taxes, to pay for things that you don't want to pay for.
Hey, so the real reason why white people are so against diversity in like film, television, and entertainment, and even in like professional settings and academic settings, is simply that after decades upon decades of the psychological warfare of requiring that black people and people of color perform at a 13 out of 10 to be considered an 8 out of 10, while simultaneously allowing white people to perform at a 3 or 4 out of 10 and be considered an 8 or 9 out of 10, has only resulted in widening the gap in performance where black people and people of color are going to perform even better, and white people are going to perform even poorer because they haven't had to try. And these white people know that if diversity is allowed to continue to grow in the entertainment industry, white people don't stand a fucking chance. So the tantrums being thrown and the beating of the chest and all that jazz is just because they don't want to give up unearned power.
Now that I'm done with college, I officially hold a history degree, and that means that I have at least some warrant to talk about this. America is like comically evil. Like tie it to the train tracks evil. Like big phony mustache fucking over Latin America evil. Like lab coat and destroying the Middle East evil. Like imprisoning the Japanese evil. Like petting a cat so they can go into Vietnam and claim that they tried to attack us so we could go to war for profit evil. Like Dominican Civil War of 1965 evil. Like still practicing colonialism but just calling them territories to make it sound better evil. Like purposely not treating their own people of syphilis when they were dying but claiming that they were going to give them health care kinds of evil. Like being founded on slavery but people are trying to say that they're not evil. Like Hitler's gas chambers were inspired by
Loyalty is not rewarded at work, and you need to understand why. New employees are offered more money because the company needs to incentivize them to switch over. But loyal employees are not given big raises because it makes no sense to pay more money for someone who's never gonna leave.
Don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notification. Anytime I upload a video, you will be notified. Stay blessed and